Why do we keep picking horny movies?
It's because it's quarantine. I think it's subconsciously has skewed all of our choices.
And welcome back to the Trash Watch podcast. This week we did a deep dive into one of my childhood films, I guess, in honor of Sean Connery. I'm Chris.
I'm Brian, and with any luck, by the end of this episode, we'll all be haunted by the ghost of Sean Connery.
And I'm Brandon, and you can call me Shempai. Oh man, I didn't know I need to hear Sean Connery's accent say senpai so many times, but
Yeah.
boy howdy.
He not only
Senpai.
says it, he keeps saying it.
He sure does. And then it's whispered on the wind in the end.
Senpai. I feel like Tom Cruise sat down with his publicist and said, "Hey, I mean, Sean Connery was in a movie about Japan or Japanese people. Why can't I?" Oh
Matt Damon was like, "Hold my beer."
Have you seen that terrible movie, The Great Wall?
I have seen clips of it. And
I've heard several bad movie podcasts talk about it. So like in my head, I've seen it, but I've not forced myself to sit down through it.
It's I'm not going to force it on anyone. Let's just put it that way. So this week we did Rising Sun from 1993. The movie itself is directed by Philip Kaufman, and it stars Sean Connery, Wesley Snipes, Harvey Keitel, Meiko Iwamatsu, and a few other people, but those are our big hitters, I guess. And it's Brian, you were saying this is a Michael Crichton joint, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we know that he's all about historical accuracy and scientific fact,
Yeah, I have some thoughts on this. We'll get to it once we get to the middle of the film. Because I didn't realize there was a Crichton film going in, and then I was like waiting for it to turn into Crichton, and then like we got into the middle, I was like, "Is this maybe the Crichton of it all?"
Oh yeah,
So,
there's a scene in the middle, yeah, where I wrote down like, here we go.
Like, yeah, because I was waiting for the one movie that Crichton has. He does one thing in all of his stories, and that's the only thing he ever does.
Yep.
But yeah, so we will get to there. Don't you worry, listeners.
Right. So I always watch these things with the subtitles on because I want to see what's going on. And, and the video quality, the film quality of this movie is dog turd bad. So I was just like, well, the audio is probably going to be bad too. But so I had the closed captions on. The entire time, whenever Wesley Snipes or Sean Connery speaks Japanese, it just says, speaks Japanese. And I'm like, I'm sitting here going, are these guys making up Japanese on the spot? And somebody's like, yeah, don't worry about it. Just let them do their thing.
Like, I think more than just this movie. I mean, was this a huge success? I don't know how this did at the box office. But I'm like, I could see a world where they're like, oh, we're not spending money to get good translation done for the subtitles. Just type whatever. Who cares?
All right, so here's a brief rundown. Rising Sun is when a prostitute is found dead in Los Angeles in a skyscraper occupied by a large Japanese corporation. Detectives John Connor, played by Sean Connery, and Webb Smith, played by Wesley Snipes, are called in to investigate. Although Connor has previous experience working in Japan, cultural differences make their progress difficult until a security disc showing the murder turns up. Close scrutiny proves the disc has been doctored, and the detectives realize they're dealing with a cover-up as well. And somehow this movie, like all of that is in it, but somehow this movie is over 2 hours long.
Yeah, this movie it's almost competently made. Like, with the exception of one part that I had noted, like, for the most part, the direction is a professionally made film.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, he did like the right stuff, and
yeah, like he has a very eclectic career.
Yeah, he was a writer on all the Indiana Jones films.
Yeah, he had a story. I think story.
Well, he did
credit.
the story of the first one, so I think he has the characters for all the other ones. Yeah.
Let's just dive into it. This movie opens with some Japanese scroll, and then this wonderful yo sound.
Yeah, that as soon as I started, I was like, God, are you doing this to me again, guys?
Mortal Kombat.
I keep bringing you both like little joyful pockets from my childhood for us all to sit around and enjoy. And
Oh,
then
now
you
come
guys
on.
give me this bullshit.
Come
Brandon,
on,
that's on
There
you.
is some joyful pockets in this.
That's
or at
fair.
least,
But no,
or at least
at the
business
start,
cards
though,
and panties.
you have to understand my reaction, though, when I see a like slowly zooming Japanese symbol and I'm like, oh my
Oh my god!
And
God.
there was just something very surreal about like seeing this Japanese symbol and like Japanese music playing as like the symbol's like floating towards the camera, and then the name Sean Connery appears over it.
Sean
Yes.
Connery and
I was confused, and I mean this legitimately. I'm not trying to be funny about this at all. I was confused for the first half an hour of this movie because I didn't know if it took place, in Los Angeles, if it took place in Japan, or if we were going back in time for some reason because we're in a desert and there's a dog holding a hand. Did anyone else?
Oh yeah,
catch
for the first
dog?
like the first minute, like
what
it's
the
this
hell
Wild
is
West
this?
thing, and yeah, I was like, is this some weird prologue that like the Japanese are searching for Curly's lost gold?
honestly, like my brain, I was still just kind of eating at that point because I got my lunch right before starting this, so I was devouring a taco while that happened, so I wasn't taking notes. But I think am I correct that it's just because it blends into the karaoke video?
Yeah, it's supposed to
that's
be
it?
the karaoke video.
Yeah.
Which,
if it's
frankly,
the karaoke video, why the hell is there a dog with a hand?
That's the kind of the 30 Rock joke of just random things happening in karaoke videos.
well, see, the thing is, like, my problem with it is that it's too connected to the song that he's singing because it's like
That's
a country
true.
western song. My experience is those karaoke videos have nothing to do with the song.
It'll be like dandelions and dolphins playing for Metallica. Yeah, I will say though, I do love the film starts off at karaoke, and that's the level of cultural respect we're gonna get for the most of the film. It's like
these-
Japanese people karaoke, yeah.
Yeah, they do
with these
that.
Like,
like with these doo-wop singers in the background.
background singers.
Yeah, it feels like it was written by like Michael Crichton had like a guy who got really into anime in college and like learned some terms and like was the cultural advisor. Like, oh yeah, no, like you have to bow as deeply as they do.
Oh my god. And then Eddie Sakamura, who is one of our leading characters, he is singing "Don't Fence Me Into a Prostitute."
Well, is she a prostitute? Because I found that one of the plot descriptions, and it just seemed like it was his mistress.
It says she's a call girl in the Wikipedia description.
That's what it says, but I didn't find it anywhere in the source of the film.
I mean,
like,
the movie. I don't think.
because
ever
spoiler alert for
really-
later, he goes down on her, and I'm like, wow, he's going down on his prostitute first. Good for him. Like, way to go.
Progressive
rights.
way of thinking,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, Eddie is in many ways the hero of this movie.
Oh, I mean, here's the character I like the most, other than
Yep.
remembering that Blade exists, and then I kind of like Blade.
So he's singing "Don't Fence Me Into" this woman. They go into the parking lot because she wants to leave, and she's trying to get a cab, and he's very abusive to her, throws her in this fancy car, and they drive off. And I'm like,
Okay, so
oh,
now slightly
okay.
less hero.
Yeah. I'm saying they're going like, oh, okay, they're trying to make us feel like he is the bad guy because he's going to be, our red herring at the end.
Yeah.
It's this movie is very predictable, but it also at the same time it tells you nothing at the end of the movie, so you really
It
don't
just
know.
takes 12 years to get there. It's like,
takes
okay, this
12
is
years to
probably
get
what's going on. I guess we'll wait an hour and find out.
And then the next thing that happens, we end up in a like a business negotiating meeting for the most legitimate sounding computer business of all time, Microcon.
I do like the business spy that they had.
I did
Like,
too.
I enjoyed him
thought
like
that was
zooming in and
interesting.
listening in on them. Although I feel like if I was in a high pressure, like multi-million-dollar negotiation like that, I wouldn't just whisper my weaknesses at the table to my
Oh, you mean? Wait, Brandon, you mean this guy is an asshole?
No, I would call people an asshole because that's a legit. But I would be like, oh boy, like we can't stall on this any longer. We can't do this yet. Or we got to stall. Like I wouldn't be saying that at the table. We would have discussed that going into the meeting.
It's
And-
the
and
business. It's the business equivalent of a boss's like weak spot glowing red when you need to attack it.
Good for them finding a guy that not only can read lips, but read lips in English and then translate it into Japanese. I think that's it's good for
It's
that
a
guy.
diverse skill set. Yeah. So, Chris, if you watch, I don't know if your subtitles were different, but mine, there's a little bit of prophecy in the subtitles because after this business meeting, one of the many scenes that just kind of starts and stops is this a senator talking on like a debate show, on news show, talking about this merger.
Yeah.
And while they're talking on this debate show, it just comes up and says, "All talk at once on TV." And I'm like, that's kind of just having just gone through the election coverage. That's basically just a summary of what news is now.
Oh my god! Did anyone else notice during the equal parts going down on the call girl or mistress scene while the taiko drumming is happening? The people who are awkwardly like shimmy dancing to the taiko drumming like it's an actual like club song.
Oh yeah, those are awkward white people just responding to things they don't understand.
I was like, what is happening?
Any situation we're unsure of, we just step touch until it's all over. Step touch and step touch.
Right.
Maybe a little arm shake.
Senator Morton here to raise the roof.
More importantly, at this like cut through scene where they're at the party, we get a glimpse of a Steve Buscemi like in the side of a frame, and I was like, "Is that Steve Buscemi?" It's like it couldn't be. They wouldn't use him in a non-existent part. And spoiler alert, they do.
Yes. He has no more than like 6 lines in the entire movie itself.
And as far as I could tell, he has no like bearing on the outcome of the film.
They show like they show him at one point, like they have a whole scene like to set up his character, and then he shows up in the next scene and then just vanishes.
I do like that he is Weasel, which I thought was quite good, you know.
Yeah, when they first said it, I was like, "Oh, I wonder who's playing Weasel." Oh, okay, it's Steve Buscemi.
Yeah, so at this point, that's all just a setup that she dies. She's choked to death. And then we're introduced to Wesley Snipes, who plays Webb. And I've been getting irrationally mad about the dumbest stuff lately. Like, last night I was watching one of those BuzzFeed videos of like, oh, here's a way that you can cook potatoes or mash potatoes differently or whatever. And this guy, he oils up his potatoes and then seasons them, bakes them.
That just sounds like a euphemism.
Oil up the old potato.
Oil up the old potatoes.
There's a line later where I think it's Sakimura says something like, it's like it's like, you know, they're into that choky stuff. I'm a meat and potatoes kind of guy.
Yes,
it's like,
he does say that.
It's like, what? That sounds painful.
Well, he's oiling up them potatoes. So, this guy, he seasons them and he bakes them and all that.
He likes to eat off the women, as you see later. So he literally meant he likes to eat steak and potatoes off women. So,
he does all this stuff. He bakes up potatoes and then he peels the skin off the potatoes. So he didn't really have to season them. And I got so mad about that. And I got equally as mad today watching Wesley Snipes' kid use a bubble gun because, like, back in my day, you had to blow your own damn bubbles. You didn't have a toy to do it for you. It just...
Oh, guys, you don't see it. Chris just sprouted a huge gray beard. Oh, no. His hairline's receding. He has a Page Boy cap all of a sudden. Are those suspenders? What's happening?
I'm yelling at a cloud!
But I do love that after his wake-up phone call introduction, and then we get our first, like, weird cut forward to this device that's not really used in any way that makes sense or is effective, where he's being interrogated about the case after the fact.
A framing device we're introduced to 12 minutes into the movie.
That only comes up, I think, one other time, and then it's resolved, and it has no impact on anything. Also, dear God, they should have saved all the credits for the end on this one, because if I didn't know Sean Connery was in this one, and then he goes to pick up the expert in the very, like, Japanese-themed apartment, and then Sean Connery turned around, I would have shit my pants.
Oh my God, right? Him with that handsome Caesar cut of his.
Yeah, it's very, like, oh boy.
Oh my God. So this is also where we get Harvey Keitel's first instance of diet racism when he talks about her looking like a piece of sushi on a table. That happens a lot in this movie.
There's much more overt stuff that he does in that scene, like when he enters the room full of Japanese people and says Geronimo.
Yeah. Also, I wrote down Harvey Keitel's character hits a lot different in 2020.
Yeah.
Like watching him now, I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is America.
Well, like literally, there's a scene later where he's all but like complaining about the PC police.
Yeah, I wrote down that I do love 1993 America's view of Japan. Like the way this film like views Japanese culture is insane.
Yeah, this movie was problematic because, again, in the first 15 minutes, I was
because it's written by Michael Crichton.
Yeah, but I was 100% on board. I'm like, okay, this is going to be a lot of fun. But then it starts getting really heavy into the racist stuff. And I went, I might need to pull back on this. Like, I almost texted you guys, be like, do we need to go with a different option? Because this movie is getting very uncomfortable,
Yeah, in the end, though, I think it is an artifact of its time, and we're acknowledging the racism of it, and yeah, that's why I think it is, with the exception of Harvey Keitel and the bad cops who are just racist.
Yeah,
about.
I did have to write down. I think it's interesting that everybody reacts to the name John Connor like, oh, that guy, he's so terrible, or he's the best or whatever. I'm like, John Connor's kind of a pretty common name.
Yeah, there's probably another John Connor in the LAPD.
How amazing would it be if they showed up oh, we thought it was the other guy. Oh,
yeah,
you don't look like Edward Furlong at all.
To be fair, if I told me
the kid that brought down Skynet.
I say, if you told me you were getting a Japanese expert, John Connor, and then Sean Connery showed up, I would go, you got the wrong one. You there must be another one.
Oh, you mean his advice that
Tia Carrera opens the door. Sarah Connor. Boom.
No, I was gonna say, you mean his advice that the Japanese find big arm movements threatening? Kind of like bears.
Guys, we're speaking from the privilege of sitting in 2020. You remember back in 1993, as Sean Connery describes it, America was a fragmented MTV rap video culture.
Yes.
A quote from the film.
He says to Wesley Snipes.
A fragmented MTV rap video culture.
I don't understand these kids and their hip-hop music.
Oh, so I just put something together, and we skipped in the earlier scene. The first scene, we're in Connery's apartment.
Yeah.
They do this really long, conspicuous zoom on women's shoes in his place.
Yes.
And at first I was like, the fuck is that about? Who cares? And then at the end, when they treat something like a big reveal, I was like, was I supposed to care about this? And I was like, oh shit, that shoe zoom was supposed to get me curious, but guess what? I don't give a shit if you zoom in on a pair of shoes. That's not how you build tension.
This is one of those movies that loves that of of trying to be oh, this is going to be a big deal later, and then when it happens, you're like, uh-huh.
Like a dude sitting in the corner, aren't you curious about those shoes? And I'm like, not really. They're shoes.
At every screening of the movie, they had some guy sitting in the audience. They could only seat them at half capacity because every seat needed one person next to you to nudge you, be like, see the shoes? It
reminds me of how I describe Andrew Lloyd Webber, where I even when he's good, whenever I'm watching one of his musicals, I feel like he's sitting in the corner going, aren't I clever? So the one bit of actively bad direction was when they arrive at the party at the tower. This is not the weird narration drumming scene. This is they're going through the party and showing who's there, and it is the weirdest cinematography I've ever seen. It's handheld POV, but distorted, and I can't even remember what all happened. I was very viscerally upset by watching.
There was a P. It was, I think it's supposed to be Wesley Snipes POV or something, because it whips to it looks over to the conference room, and then whips over to the first of many shots of suspicious Japanese people.
Yeah.
Yeah, you already mentioned it earlier. Harvey Keitel yelling Geronimo as he walks into the business room. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, later on he says that all Japanese people are world-class perversion freaks.
Oh my god.
Which isn't even properly the syntax isn't right in that sentence.
Right.
It's completely stepping over that it's the woman who wants to be choked.
Yeah.
She's the one asking for it.
Also, again, that's progressive. The movie is a little progressive in that they're like, oh yeah, she likes what she likes and she's asking for it. Good for her,
Although the scene does give us a gift to the world, which is Sean Connery shouting angrily in Japanese, which I could watch hours of.
I literally wrote down angry Scottish Japanese is amazing. Yeah, so this is basically, it's just a quick, not quick, there's no quick scenes in this movie, Chris, come on. This is a scene where Sean Connery, Wesley Snipes, and Harvey Keitel are arguing with the building manager. I'm assuming they don't really say who he is.
He works for the company. Basically.
He works for the company. They're arguing with him. about getting a warrant so they can, you take care of the scene, and there's all these people standing around. I'm like, yeah, no, they should take care of the scene. It's clearly someone is dead in a building. And then we're introduced to Mr. Tanaka while he's taking a shit ton of pictures.
Yeah, like I understand that like for the plot he needs to take pictures, but it's not a great look that like one of your Japanese characters is introduced just taking a bunch of pictures.
You're like, who the fuck is taking the Polaroids, guys?
Yeah.
Oh, that's Mr. Tanaka. It's fine. He's head of security. So they find out that this woman was a mistress or a call girl or whatever you want to call her. They have an address for her and they look her up. They end up in the what I first thought was just like a seedy motel, but apparently it's like an apartment complex just for mistresses. Or am I wrong?
It's the movie at least the movie suggested that is a common thing for Japanese businessmen to have.
Yeah.
Are these like hotels where they can all stash their mistresses away from their wives, and they built one in America.
Okay.
I will say before that though, we
have to go back because
the security office.
They end up in the security office where we're introduced to the.
Yeah, I wrote
Gizmo.
down the Gizmo. What century is this? Like, in what fucking universe would you refer to like the joystick or like however controls for the camera? Would you say, oh, you got to use the Gizmo?
You got to give the guy credit who was in the security office. I mean, he made choices. For sure. Like, he could have played it off as like, oh, I'm a nervous security guy. I really need this job. But he was also playing it off as like, oh, yeah, I'm totally creepy. And if I can find the tape, I will make a copy and then I'll send you the original because I need this for my own stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's halfway between nervous security guy and Tony Todd in Final Destination.
But don't worry, then he immediately also confirms his creep nature by like wanting to zoom in on a hot lady at the party with the Gizmo. And first off, what are the odds he chooses Wesley Snipes' ex-wife, who comes of nothing? It's mentioned twice. It's like the choices in this film. I was like, okay, so she's gonna have to like get involved, and it's gonna be awkward because he's gonna have to use her. Like, no, we never see her again. But once we were at the Mistress Hotel, we do find out what great police work they do because they immediately start touching everything.
Oh wait, no, okay, hold on. I did have one other note. So they leave and they run into the senator and his groupies or whatever, and one of them confuses Wesley Snipes for a valet, and Wesley Snipes calls the guy a penguin-looking motherfucker, and I
Yes, I said the same thing watching the Batman trailer. I was like, that's a penguin-looking motherfucker.
Japan's gonna play this city like a harp from hell. Harp from hell. Also, I believe the guy who mistakes Wesley Snipes for a valet is he's played by Kevin Anderson. I mean, it's not important. This guy's not important. He'll never come up in the movie again. I assure you, folks. I assure you, this random guy never going to come up again. This guy, Bob Richmond, is his character's name. Never going to come up again. Just don't worry about him. Don't worry about him. Don't.
I wrote down my next note is after they touch everything at the crime scene. Is we will never be free of the horniness. Maybe it's just that I was too young in '93 to be really like tapped into what the horny wave was right then, but I feel like the world's largest underpants that woman is wearing. Maybe aren't the sexiest garment they could have chosen. And don't worry, audience, you'll get a good look at them because at that point I was watching at 1.3 speed. And they do the slow pan down the woman, then pan back up, and you stay on her crotch for, even at the fast speed, a good 30 seconds.
Oh my god.
Phil, you're going to move that camera eventually? Phil? Phil, wait for it. Just, it's for the artistry.
Large white opaque panties do it for me.
Those are some nice deep ends you've got on there.
Oh my god, it's like they showed it just to show how long the panties are.
It's so unattractive. It's like the least like this. It's a very gorgeous woman, I'm sure, wearing them, but I was just so distracted by how uncomely the goddamn underwear was. Also, I just put together something. She reacts very lustily when she thinks that he is the backdoor man, so the other guy. So that means that, spoiler alert for later, the senator has some moves or is packing something that's pretty gossip worthy. So good for you, Senator.
Well, I think he tries to point that out later when he puts his leg up on a coffee table directly in eye line from his cock to Sean Connery's face.
Like, man, that's a real dick measuring contest,
He goes,
literally.
I see what you've got there.
Yeah, but she's just another one of the mistresses who wanders in and like gives them a bunch of details that like is probably helpful for the case. And then he's like, Sean Connery's like, aha, what a trick. Now let's ignore all that.
I just love the idea of you gotta be careful of Crazy Eddie. Oh my god. And then Sean Connery gives her his business card, and she has her hands in the pockets of the robe, but she puts the business card in the world's largest panties.
Well, there's a lot of pockets in there, actually. It's very spacious.
It's all-purpose panties.
Yeah, you remember the old sketch from All That, Baggett, Zag, and Barry? It's like that, but with panties.
Oh, you got them cargo panties?
Yeah, cargo panties.
Finally, women's clothing with pockets.
Women, we've heard your request. And finally, Victoria's Secret is answering the call. Everything with pockets.
You like pockets, do you? Have all the pockets in the world.
It's a monkey's paw wish gone wrong. God, I hope you watch this, audience, because, like, legit, you're gonna think we're insane talking about this underwear for so long.
The movie lingers on it longer than we've been talking about it.
That's true. We got a good 3 minutes left in that regard.
Honey, do you need me to carry your keys? Oh no, sweetheart, I got my cargo panties on.
The next bit of great writing for Wesley Snipes, immediately after the scene, when they're going back to the car, he goes, "Senpai, apple pie, whatever you want me to call you." I'm like, come on, man. This, like...
71% of his one-liners in this movie are him mangling Japanese, and it's slightly uncomfortable.
I feel like that feels like Michael Crichton like wrote it down, and then they took it to a room of writers to do a punch-up, and he was like, "No, my jokes are perfect."
Oh, yeah. Well, I love that this movie lets you know that this next bouncer, this bodyguard, he's a cool guy because he's got a matchstick in his mouth, and he's got a black belt.
Yeah, which all the coolest people announce that they're black belts. So is Gary, the two
Jeff.
whitest bouncers. Oh, Jeff, that's what it was. Yeah,
Yep. Gary and Jeff are the bouncers, though. But you were right about
yeah. And Sean Connery, of course, takes him down with one throat punch.
Oh my god, throat punch!
By the way, this is what the IMDb Parents Guide says about it.
Oh my god.
Connery jabs someone's throat after someone assaulted him for touching him.
Oh my God, Connery was 73 when this film came out, and he's taking down black belts.
And also, like, Connery and Snipes uses martial arts on people.
So they're sitting down watching the snuff film with Harvey Keitel, and for some reason, I thought for like a half a second, I actually had to rewind it because I thought Wesley Snipes was eating popcorn. Did it? Like, because he's just like, oh, yeah, and he's like doing business around his face, and I'm like, is he eating popcorn and watching a snuff film?
I'd be shocked if he's eating popcorn, but he was certainly doing some business. He was making some choices.
Some business. Oh my god.
Yeah, so they get it, and Sean Connery, does he even say anything, or does he just sit there and be like, Because they like, we're gonna go off to arrest him, and he like, I will uncharacteristically refuse to comment on what's going on right now.
So Harvey Keitel, Wesley Snipes, they show up to Eddie's house to raid him, to arrest him. We get a couple interesting things here. We see that Eddie is literally eating sushi off a naked woman on the floor. Harvey Keitel then, and I had to write this down, says, oh, he's plundering our national resources. So, like, I didn't know that we were exporting sushi and naked ladies.
The least charitable way to read that line is our white women.
No, that's the only way to read the line. I'm sorry. Yeah, it is. That was perhaps the most upsetting bit of racism in there, like suggesting that white women are your property because you're a white man.
Like, I forgot about that line because possibly my brain just like deleted it. Was like, oh, absolutely not. We're not.
So we get this raid on the house. Now, did you guys notice that the sushi lady she stays laying on the floor the whole time?
I sure did.
The other lady, though.
the other lady who jumps on Wesley Snipes.
Which again, white privilege.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Oh my god. Like I'm like, what is the choice? Why? I don't. Granted, we never see these characters again, so nothing matters. But like, there's no pre-existing history with this woman and these characters. Like, does she love Eddie? What is this? What's happening? What is happening? Chris, explain yourself.
I don't know. So Eddie escapes the house, gets in the car, and is driving off. And then we are set up with an insane amount of cop cars. Like, I literally wrote down, I'm like, this is starting to feel like the mall chase scene in Blues Brothers.
It was over so quick compared to that, though, because I was just like, oh.
Yeah, because all we see of it is Wesley Snipes in the car 20 miles away.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's the most interesting perspective in a car chase, is at the very, very end of the line.
It's certainly the least expensive one. So
yeah.
I also wrote down that the reason this movie is so long is they literally do everything in real time.
They do break real time, because after this we get our second flash forward to the future scene.
Well, hang on, because one important thing happens before we jump forward, which is that Sakamura's car crashes into a cliff, and the atomic bomb in his trunk goes off.
I wrote that too. I'm like, wait, where did this car explosion come from?
Yeah, it's classic movie, small bump, giant explosion, and body inside charred beyond recognition. So, open and shut case. As soon as I said that, I was like, okay, like, even in 93, like, if you've ever heard of a movie before, you understand that he's not dead.
So, the next scene it's Wesley Snipes being woken up by the phone call, isn't it?
It's a flash forward before that. It cuts to him being interrogated, and they basically say, like, we're in the past, that's like, hey, was everything done by the books? And he's like, yeah, everything's by the books. And then the future, but it wasn't by the books, was it? No. When did you find out? Phone call. It's like a 10-second cut. It has no bearing, but it's there and it's stuck in my brain. Yeah, but this is the next phone call with the little kid interrupting.
Oh, the little kid with the deepest, graveliest voice of all time.
And this, like, weird, like, morning outfit. Like,
yeah, she's really taking the divorce hard.
Yeah, but he gets a wake-up call, and he's supposed to go golfing with Sean Connery and the other Japanese businessman at 9:15. We also find out that somebody else called in to get his messages the night before, and one of those messages was from Eddie Sakamura.
Yeah, wait, does anything ever come of that?
Yeah, I don't think we ever find out who called in, but
like, are we supposed to assume it was Sean Connery? Is it the corrupt cops? Like, what?
Well, okay, so you find out that somebody was calling him about Weasel, Steve Buscemi's character.
Oh, well, yeah, that's the Bulldog calls him.
Yeah. But before that, you find out that Eddie had called right before the raid to say, hey, I have the disc for you, or I have stuff to talk to you about the disc.
Which we actually saw that phone call briefly before the raid. It was very weird at the moment.
Well, it was also weird because Harvey Keitel makes a really distinct moment to say, all right, make sure you note that at 2:11 a.m. we apprehended the suspect, and then the call comes in at 2:10.
You just don't appreciate the very smooth, like, writing and plotting that Michael Crichton has done.
Oh my god, yeah. So nothing really comes of it except for we get some really uncomfortably tight, close shots of Sean Connery and the Japanese businessman's face with weird music in the background, thinking like, oh, they're about to fight or something, and then it pans away and they're just golfing. I did have to say though, I got a genuine laugh out of Wesley Snipes having to hop back in the golf cart because he forgot to park it.
That was delightful, and that feels like something that was a mistake.
I was gonna say that feels like they did not intend that.
100%. They're like, oh no,
especially because of the way the camera kind of follows him back. That it's like the camera guy's like, all right, we're just gonna follow him here. Oh.
Yeah, so if they had planned that, that's the best bit of, like, blocking and direction in the movie. Like, hands down, it was delightful and genuine joy to watch that happen. And it's the sort of thing that I wish happened more in movies. Like, yeah, It's just sometimes dumb shit happens.
And it just works so perfectly in the moment. They leave the golf course, and as they're leaving, Sean Connery gets a gift, quote unquote, from the Japanese, and then they end up somehow in the basement of an ice rink for the
it is a college. Yeah,
This
it
is
is
like community college videography class.
Yeah, it's part of Sean Connery's, I guess, I don't know, his like Sherlock Holmes network of homeless people that he has all
Oh
the
my
like
God.
weirdos in town connected. That's right. When they show up, we get the second "You're late" of the film, which, granted, like the sort of just pointing out plot holes and contradictions and stuff in film culture has like just destroyed the internet in a bad way. But I will give CinemaSins this, like it has made me aware of like how often people just put "you're late" at the start of like scenes to make it seem dynamic and actiony without actually having any bearing on anything. And this movie does it twice. Yeah, so here we get to it. We're watching the scene. They're talking about how you can doctor the photo, and they even show Wesley Snipes so you can swap his head with Sean Connery's. And I was like, oh, okay. Here's the Michael Crichton. Is this about how deep fakes are evil?
Yes, that's what I was really hoping
I
for.
mean, the thing with the way Wesley Snipes is kind of incredulous about video editing generally, I was kind of hoping that like when she initially took his head off in the editing, that it'd be like, what you just cut off my head?
Well, I think part of it is he's completely distracted by the porn, so he doesn't see any of the other stuff that's actually being edited. He's
He's like, I get to
watching-
watch this snuff film again? Yeah.
He's like, awesome.
Wesley like.
Where's my popcorn?
Yeah, no, but they swap heads in this video, and the only thing going through my head was like, I want to see Face Off now with Wesley Snipes and Sean
Connery.
Yes,
I
But,
want
like,
his face off.
All right, but you have to have like black hands still.
yes, no, that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. Is it can't be like face; it's got to be a head. So you got to remove the heads off of these two characters and swap bodies.
I mean, that's the natural sequel to Face Off is head off.
head off.
Around this scene though, we do get another moment that I like. One of the things that I probably shouldn't have, it was like a hacky joke line, but I actually enjoyed, where he asks, where are you from? Scotland Yard? And he goes, Scotland backyard. And I'm like, what? Like, it's not cool, but it hit me in the right way. I was like, you know what? You're all right, Sean Connery.
This movie has some giggle-worthy moments, you know. With all this being done, we find out that I'm gonna mess up her name.
Oh yeah,
It's
it's important. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's important an hour and 10 minutes in that he flirts with this woman that we just met, who is the video editor.
Yes,
That comes back. He's supposed to be really emotionally invested in it, even though it happens at an hour and 10 into the film, and it doesn't matter.
Yes,
Yeah, and then Sean Connery peeps on them.
Yep, and this woman is played by Tia Carrera, and she was in Wayne's World. She's Wayne's girlfriend.
Yes.
Yes, and she's.
I'm
and
sorry.
she
She's
is.
a successful rock star in her own right. She's not
Yes,
Wayne's
you're right.
girlfriend.
You are right. I'm sorry,
Let's start working on the thought. Cassandra is her name.
Cassandra. Yes.
Yes.
But she has an interesting thing going on with her life. She's got kind of a dead hand that they don't really. It doesn't
Go
really
into?
affect anything.
I know, it just kind of paints her as an outsider because
Yeah.
she has the scene where it's this character we just met and doesn't really impact the rest of the story. Tells Wesley Snipes that she was born there. Her she was born in Japan, but her father's is an African, and
Yeah.
so therefore she was ostracized for that. And then also on top of that, she has like a deformity with her left hand, which made her extra ostracized because of Japanese culture. And then she committed the unforgivable sin of falling in love with a white man. So like triple ostracized. She got jackpotted out of the country.
This moment though, where she is sharpening the image in the camera, like I feel like this movie set the bar for all the
zoom and
CSI
enhance.
shows.
Yeah.
Yes, for zoom in.
Except this does more work. Like this, they actually have the time because they show like negatives and like
Yeah.
she says like let's remove the noise. Like literally on CSI, they zoom in and then like click and switch to a high res photo. Like this, they at least did a couple like filter passes to make it look like something was happening.
Yes. And then I think Wesley Snipes asked her a question about something along the lines of like, all right, well, if you were going to deep fake this video, where would you? And her response is something along the lines of like, well, it can't be done. And his response is, yeah, but if it could be done, where would it be done? And then they magically end up in a facility that I still don't know what it is.
It's just a lab that they had the technology. I don't know what else they do. It seems like they do just science. They are science building.
They have that weird walking robot.
They have walking robots. They have jumping robots.
I mean,
have
I think the
weird-
entire point of this scene is it's the obligatory Michael Crichton is scared of technology scene.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, oh, look what these people have done. They're not even considering what could happen with all this technology.
Like, why are those people wearing gold jumpsuits? Nothing good can happen in this building. And the fingers on the video.
But I believe the official location is as featured in the Green Lantern film, with a sign outside the building says "Science Building."
We also we're jumping around a little bit. Somewhere in the middle of this, Sean Connery and Wesley Snipes are driving, and they're being pursued by presumably Yakuza guys.
And the most inconspicuous car of all time.
Oh, yeah.
1950s Thunderbird and
Yeah,
bright
like they've
blue.
got Biff's car just chasing these guys through. And in case you thought it was kind of uncomfortable when we were spending all this time talking about Japanese people, don't worry, it gets more problematic. We drive into the hood.
Yeah. Oh my God. I was like, this movie is so good at its depiction of race.
Does Wesley Snipes ask gang members to kill Japanese people?
He asked them to. He just wants them to not be a problem following him, and he doesn't ask them any detailed questions because he scored some points once in a game, which I'm gonna guess is basketball because he said it was like 38 points, and I'm like, I guess you could get 38 points.
Yeah,
as a
I was
football
playing
player.
against Woody Harrelson. Got some information about white men.
Guess how well they jump? Not well.
Okay, so I do have a confession about White Man Can't Jump. For the longest time,
You can.
No, I can't.
Mario can. That's what
I'm
he's
sure
famous
I
for.
would break my legs at this point. This goes back to Ernest Scared Stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're
As
going
all
back
good
in
things
time.
do.
So I remember distinctly going to the movie store or the Blockbuster in our town, and I always saw the movie White Man Can't Jump, but I never paid attention to the title. But for some reason in my head, Woody Harrelson looked like Jim Varney, and I thought for the longest time it was an Ernest Plays Basketball movie.
Ernest can't jump.
Don't worry. We actually get that eventually. Do you not know about the? Yeah, there's a movie called Slam Dunk Ernest.
What?
It was one of the later direct-to-movie video. It's, if I remember correctly, it's a lot like Flubber, in that he gets either magic shoes or some material that makes him jump real high. But yes, there's a film called Slam Dunk Ernest.
Brandon, the pure joy that just washed over my brain.
I will say though, as
Thank you.
an Ernest purist, I don't speak very highly of the later Ernest canon. So watch at your own peril.
Sure. I don't know if it's going to be on our list anytime soon, but knowing that exists just makes me so happy.
I mean,
But yeah,
now I kind of want to put Flubber on the list.
Yeah, Slam
Oh,
Dunk
please
Ernest.
do.
I mean, that'd be a good two-parter, back to back. That and Slam Dunk Ernest.
the double episode of Slam Dunk Ernest and Flubber.
And actually, I think I want to see when Slam Dunk Ernest came out, because depending on when it came out, 1997 may have been a very basketball centric year.
Oh yeah,
I'm
we probably
sorry.
got Love and Basketball that year. There's that
Space Jam.
the Whoopi Goldberg movie Eddie, where she plays the coach.
Slam Dunk Ernest is 95.
Yeah. So it set the trend.
But I'm sorry, gentlemen. We may have to do this one because just to remind myself, I looked up what it was, and I'm sorry. He is visited by an angel
Played
and
by Kareem
given-
Abdul-Jabbar.
Kareem
Shut
Abdul-Jabbar,
the fuck up.
who plays the archangel of basketball, who gives Ernest a pair of magical shoes. All right, what the Rising Sun though? Sean Connery as the Japanese expert. I think this is so around this time, if not soon, after they escape from the hood.
Yeah, they
they-
drive off after a machete goes through their canvas roof, and the guy's like, "Hey, you got a pink slip?" And they're like, "What for?" He's like, "You gotta sell me this car now for cheap." No, we can't sell our car. Drive away.
They drive away, and much like most of the characters in this movie, neither the Yakuza nor the people who live in this neighborhood are ever seen again.
Yep.
I really hope it was worth it that you called in your one favor with the hood to save yourself from this car.
Very, very soon after this, though, we finally join up with that scene where they kept flash forwarding to.
Yes.
And it's basically just them being like, "Hey, the case is closed. Don't worry about it. Wipe your hands of it. Get out of here."
Well, because what finally resolves it is that something. They're setting up a whole thing where they're going to defame Wesley Snipes in the paper, make him seem like a racist, and he has some bribery charge that he keeps
actually
avoiding.
Definitely guilty of.
Oh,
He
yeah, well,
confesses
first
to
off-
in the film, which is wild that they didn't do a noble thing.
Yeah, where he's like, I mean, and the thing is, like, it tries to give like reasonably some like, sympathy because it's like, like he's like, rent is hard to make, like especially like as a black guy in Los Angeles, rent is hard to come by sometimes. Money is hard to come by, and so it's like, you get this bribe, $100,000, you take it.
Yeah, and it was like, oh, we weren't able to get this guy anyways to convict him. Like they gave all these excuses, but still, it is at least nice that in a film where he's the ostensibly one of the heroes, they didn't try to be like, oh no, it's misunderstood. Like no, he took a bribe.
Well, yeah, I don't like that. Sean Connery comes in and is like, oh yeah, but I've got this golf membership that I was given, roughly worth about $100,000. It's like, oh, okay, you're allowed to accept bribes as long as it's products, not money.
No, Chris, you don't understand. Bribery is okay when I do it.
Yes.
I'm saying that when Connery does it, it's not illegal.
But yeah, so. And we find all this out because the ex-wife that we by the way, remember that she's in this movie. She calls him on his car phone and basically like, I'm taking the daughter, I'm taking Zelda, and we're going far, far away because I read in the newspaper that you're a racist.
Well, that's right, because we skipped over the weasel scene where one scene Steve Buscemi shows up and it's like, hey, any comments on this charge?
Hey, it's for horses.
And then
Oh yeah, Sean Connery says that, and Michael Crichton high-fived himself with the. In front of his typewriter.
Michael Crichton's still climaxing to this day.
He's dead and he's still climaxing.
They're both in heaven. He walks up. He goes, "Hey, Sean. Hay's for horses." You crafty bastard.
Chris, I like that you think Michael Crichton is in heaven.
I know. I think Sean Connery get like a day pass down to hell to go punch him in the face.
Sean Connery's like, I want to visit some people.
So we end up. Wesley Snipes is like. It's like, oh, she's gonna take my kid because she thinks I'm crazy. Well, I'm gonna go and get my kid first. And so
that'll show her.
they bolt over
crazier
to Wesley Snipes' place, and they walk in, and who should be there but Crazy Eddie himself?
Before this, don't we find out that the senator is involved?
Oh yeah,
this is
we
where
get an amazing. The one sequence I really need to talk about is the senator finding out.
Oh man!
Whoa! That comes in a little bit.
Yes, we'll get there.
Okay.
So but they get there, find out Eddie's there, and he's like, I was not the one who did it. It was the security guy, Tanaka. For some reason, he got in the car and drove off, and then ran off the road into a cliff. Long story short, Yakuza and Harvey Keitel, who seems to be working with them now, like it seems unclear.
It's pretty quick. That also Harvey Keitel suggests that like Wesley Snipes like got him addicted to bribes. He's like, who gave me my first hit, man? I was like, wait, what? Are you addicted to bribes? Is that what you're arguing right now?
Well,
come on, man. I need my fix.
I also want to know who the costume designer was for this movie, because Hawaiian shirts with jeans and suit jackets.
It was the 90s. It was a different time.
Oh, man.
A different, worse time.
So Crazy Eddie crazily goes out and is like, basically it seems like I'm just going to stall. I'm going to distract them. Now we jump into a kung fu movie, and they start doing a bunch of like all these businessmen are just doing martial arts everywhere.
Oh, the one who rips off his suit top and is just wearing the white t-shirt to fight in.
Yeah, after Eddie was like, oh, I guess I could escape with them, but instead I think I'll go have a kung fu fight.
Also, who brings a sword to a kung fu fight?
Well, this is when I texted you guys the clip from The Simpsons, which is like, oh, the little one hasn't done anything yet. When he does, it's going to be awesome. Because there was like at least one guy just like standing in the back
and
watching.
Then much like that episode, the cool thing happens off screen because Wesley Snipes runs around the corner and Eddie is on the ground dead.
Yes.
With a knife, with a sword wound around, like his throat slashed, which now brings us to my favorite entry in this IMDb Parents Guide.
Yeah.
Under violence and gore, it says, quote, Eddie got killed in a fight.
I'm sorry, Brian. Where is the lie?
Yeah.
That's
I'm not saying it's a lie.
Where is the lie?
Funny.
Where is it? Oh my god.
Okay, but once they escape, they go to the new location of the like underground videographer anti-terrorists. I
Yeah,
don't know what the
they
fuck
apparently
they are.
just picked it all up and moved to a warehouse somewhere. Just
It's like, yeah, you think you can stop us, but now we're working out of the lab from Breaking Bad. Like, okay, cool, I guess.
yeah, but it was after that scene where Wesley Snipes, because Wesley Snipes gets shot when he goes to get Eddie.
But thank God he's wearing body armor.
Yes, and so that's when we jump to the final time we're at this police framing device, where basically you find out all that this is really about is where's John Connor. And then the police chief like slowly morphs into Robert Patrick and is like, we want to find John Connor.
Man, if I got an hour and 20 minutes into this, if I got like, well, at this point it'd be like an hour and 40 minutes into this thing and it turned out to be a Terminator sequel, I'd be over the moon.
Oh, by the way, I don't know if we mentioned it or not, but during the Eddie fight, you should go back and watch it if you didn't see this, because Eddie, no less than 4 times, punches people in the dick.
He's a dick puncher.
He's a dick puncher.
Like, that's why you gotta look out for him. That's why you gotta be afraid, because he will straight
crazy.
up punch you in the dick.
It's Crazy Eddie's dick punch.
They don't call him Crazy Eddie for nothing.
He's not Sane
man.
Edward. He is Crazy Eddie.
Please, Saint Edward and Crazy
Saint
Eddie.
Edward
That's
was
my
my
favorite. That's my favorite. My favorite Jekyll and Hyde story is Saint Eddie and Saint Edward and Crazy Eddie.
Oh my god!
Boy, howdy.
Again, they just casually end up watching snuff films with all the cops just sitting around. What is happening?
So yeah, now we get to Sean Connery's plan is like, all right, now we're going to, or Wesley Snipes is like, we're going to, to startle the cut the grass and startle the snakes. And so they start faxing these pictures of the snuff film to Senator Morton. And this is where we get the glorious moment.
It's I swear to God, it is a scene straight out of a Neil Breen film.
Yes.
Like, it is shot weirdly, poorly framed, poorly paced, like everything about it. Like, if you told me Neil Breen watched this and wanted to become a filmmaker, I would understand everything now.
So all these pictures start coming out of the fax machines. Yeah, and we cut over to his wife. Is it his? I assume it's his wife.
Who's his wife in a wheelchair? Who's like,
okay, but all right, but
like a
before
weird
that,
Dutch ankle gasp.
Yeah,
he's following the telephone line on the wall to the fax machine as if he can see the fax coming through the telephone line.
Well, don't you know? Just like the fax machines, telephone wires like actually expand as the fax goes through it. It's these the crunched, crumbled up paper is moving through, much like a snake's belly.
Yeah, if he was faster, he could have like grabbed it and like grabbed the paper out of the line before it got to the machine.
Also, I had to write down like how dark these pictures are. These fax machines are out of ink after 2 pages.
That's why he shoots himself, because like, he can't afford more ink.
He's like, well, that was the rest of my campaign funds.
I'm
done.
ruined.
How much that shit was back then?
I will never financially recover from this.
His wife is crying because she's looking at their household budget.
But like the most comical pull out of a drawer, you see a gun sitting there, a hand off screen picks up the gun, and then you hear the gunshot. It is art of the highest degree.
We also do get the moment in right before the fax machine. And if you can find this on YouTube, really, you don't have to watch this movie. Just watch this little clip over and over and over again of Sean Connery yelling out the words "Acorta," which somebody says like, "Oh, he's pissed off," and then Sean Connery's like, "Yes, very much." So it's just him yelling pissed off in Japanese, and just find
So
that.
it's like the Kevin Sorbo disappointed.
Yes, Quarter pissed off. Yes, I am. Yeah. So Wesley Snipes, Sean Connery, and the lady they come into the boardroom with a mini disc of the snuff film to show everyone on the board the snuff film, because everyone in this movie has to see this movie.
Yeah, because that's how law works. If you show it in a business boardroom meeting, then it's legal.
It's the played straight version of the SNL Buckwheat getting shot sketch,
Yes.
where they just keep finding excuses to show the video again.
Oh my god. Yeah, I was sitting here going, oh, I remember when Minidisc was going to be the next like huge thing, and it absolutely did nothing. It like Minidisc to me is also like hit clips. The reason why we all have ADD. It's like
I
you
remember
can't finish
hit
an
clips.
entire song. Here's 30 seconds of the song you kind of like.
I remember I had like a Hit Clips version of movie quotes. So I had like Star Wars Episode 1, like little things you put in, and like the different characters would say all their famous quotes, like wizards. That was actually one of the ones that the little Hit Clip thing said.
So anyway, Mako's in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
And again, one of the greater sins of this movie, other than the racism, is that you have Mako in this movie and you don't use him.
You should be asking, where's Mako?
Everyone should be asking where's Mako. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, since he's unfortunately left our world, I ask every time, all the time, where's Mako?
Mhm.
That's what the world needed him most.
I mean, pretty much all he does in this movie is be the executive at the end of RoboCop who fires the other guy so that RoboCop can kill him.
Yeah.
He's well, Brandon, I can fill you in, buddy. He's high-fiving Sean Connery in hell. It's fine.
Him and John Carney went to hell, high five after punching.
Yeah.
They're punching Michael Crichton in the face.
Here's for horses, Michael. Whack. Oh my god.
I mean, Mako is definitely in heaven just because of Uncle Iroh.
This
Oh
is
yeah,
true.
like
This is
the amount of
true.
joy that he's brought into the world.
I feel like I blanked out at this point a little bit because my next note after why does everyone have to watch the snuff film in this movie is they sent in the worst karate thugs in the building to fight Wesley Snipes and Sean Connery, but like I don't remember why they start chasing after the guy that they're chasing.
Well, it's because they watch the video and then there's someone sneaking in the background who knows who must know the cameras are there because he's avoiding all the shadows and whatnot. And then like everyone seems to be looking at Ishihara. That's like, oh, he's probably did it because he's the one who's been acting kind of suspicious and nervous the entire movie. But nope, it's that Bob Richmond guy. Remember him? I told you about him earlier in the movie. The guy who's not important. I told you to forget about him. Anyway, he's the real bad guy probably, and he's walking away, and they chase after him, and we end up on a construction site miles away from the building, and. Yeah, then some Yakuza show up, and we get the sound effects in this fight scene, like just they're straight out of like a 70s kung fu movie. These pooh.
Yeah, this is when I wrote down. I love Blade. Just seeing Wesley Snipes kick some people was enough. I was like, yeah, give me that Blade action.
But it turns out it was all just a distraction, and the Yakuza throw the guy into cement, and Sean Connery's like, well, it's too late to save him.
Which, at this point, I had to say, is Sean Connery a bad cop, or is he just lazy?
Both.
Yeah. I remind you, he immediately started touching everything in a crime scene.
Yes.
But so meanwhile, yeah, Ishihara is going to be sentenced to his ultimate punishment is an office job.
Yeah, and
Yes.
oh, that's right. Yeah, because they were like, "What's gonna happen to him? He's gonna have to like work in an office." Which I'm like, "Oh my god!" And then I get real depressed, and then I forget the rest of the movie.
That's Michael Crichton's hell. Is Michael Crichton is in hell in an office job.
Where science is out to get him,
The fax machine is constantly out of ink.
where no one's asked if the technology should exist.
So two things. I had a genuine laugh at Wesley Snipes' key speech when Sean Connery asked him where's the key, and he's like, he gives him the whole speech from the beginning where it's like, oh yeah, if you find yourself in trouble, you got to bow gracefully the same amount and same time, and like he's trying to go through a quiz with him. He's like, no, I meant the key for the car, and that made me chuckle. And then Wesley Snipes says the words hustling business samurai.
Those are certainly words.
Yeah, but I was just like,
Yeah, I don't.
wait,
I
but I don't really understand. Like, what makes that a thing?
it just seems like one last little bit of racism to just call any Asian person a samurai.
I mean, this is those last 3 minutes of the movie where we've all just kind of blacked out. So he's driving with Tia Carrera, and they're basically like, well, glad we solved this whole case. And she's like, or did we? And a giant question mark appears on the screen. And then he's like, all right, I'm going to drop you off here at, that's weird. It's 428 Rose Street.
Yeah, this is where all the pieces of the film thinks we've been following.
He drops his Tia Carrera mug.
Yes.
Tia Carrera starts walking into the building. Her limp goes away.
Yes, and her hand turns back to normal.
Yes.
And then she leaves the door up as if to say, "Hey, why don't you come fuck me?" I guess. And this one I wrote down, yes, Wesley Snipes and Sean Connery, classic romantic competitors. In case anyone was wondering, like, obviously Hollywood is bad about this, but while filming this, Tia was 26 years old. Wesley Snipes was 31. That's not too bad. And Sean Connery was 63. So they're purporting this relationship between a 26-year-old and a 63-year-old.
Well, apparently he is, her backdoor guy.
Yeah. This movie kind of ends with Sean Connery cucking Wesley Snipes.
Except it's like a ghost Sean Connery, because Wesley's looking at that open door that she left open and be like, should I go up and fuck her? And then he's just like, go high on the wind. You hear it like whispered.
and just like that, I'm gone.
And then I think Wesley Snipes laughs, maybe? I can't.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist.
Jesus Christ.
Oh my God. Okay. We should have done this before. Apparently there's an LA Times article about like controversy with the writing of this film.
You don't say.
Where apparently the book was too racist. So the racist movie that we got was toned down from it. Looks like Kaufman did like 5 rewrites of the script. And then apparently David Mamet came in to do a polish of the script.
That's not going to fix your problem.
Yeah, that's not going to fix your problem. And then Kaufman tried to get sole credit for the screen. Oh man, it's a whole thing. And that's Rising Sun.
It sure is.
Yeah, so I guess we'll go around. I'll give my piece here at the end. But would anybody recommend watching it?
I'm gonna say you could probably find a montage of some of the absurd moments.
Yeah,
is going to be your best bet. So you can find like if someone has like a YouTube best moments thing that's not like a creepy pervert that's just like here's a bunch of tits, that actually is like all the absurd.
Here's a slowed down 800 times version of the
panties. Yeah, like you should at least watch like not to be a pervert, you should watch that panty scene because it is so bad. It's so dumb. You should watch the senator killing himself.
You heard it here, folks. Watch the panties.
And the senator killing himself. Give my full thought. But yeah, it's too close to competent to be constantly funny, and it's too slow and bad to be worth like sitting down. So I would say, yeah, I'm gonna go no.
Yep.
Yeah, in of itself, like it's competent enough, but yeah, like the real problem is just it's the racism and stuff like that. That just it's really hard to get past that. Like.
It's a lot. Yeah, I agree. I agree with Brandon. Watch clips of the ridiculousness. Don't spend $3.50 or $5 or however much it is to rent on Amazon. But at the same time, like I love the idea of a buddy cop drama movie, whatever, with Sean Connery and Wesley Snipes. Like there are genuine moments where I was giggling out of just joy, not because it was ridiculous. I was just happy to see these two dynamos on screen with each other. So there's some give and take here. I was kind of in my head watching it today. I was thinking, oh, this very easily could have turned into a series or an anthology of movies of Sean Connery and Wesley Snipes going on cop dramas.
Yeah, but I want them to get unstuck in time. So then they're like, oh, we're in the Old West now.
Right. Oh my God. Time traveling Sean Connery and Wesley Snipes. That's the best idea.
This movie does kind of have a spiritual sequel in Finding Forrester, mainly in that it's more Sean Connery dealing in cultures that he probably should not be, because that's the movie that gives us "You're the man now, dog."
Yes.
Like that's literally a decade after this movie.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
Just so you know, we may not have recommended it, but I was pleased to find out today we didn't recommend it, but this is on an IMDb list created by a user named Crockett Burnett as my favorite movies.
What state is he senator for?
I mean, looking at him, he looks like he's this, the senator for Axe body spray because he has a picture.
So speaking of which, of people who love this movie, did a deep dive again as we always do, and we're going into one person's trash is another treasure. So I looked at some 5-star reviews.
Anyone who
here.
likes this movie is going to have some treasures. Like, I mean, this is Curly's gold.
Yeah. So the first one on our list here is from a reviewer by the name of Aussie Guy. Aussie, like Australia.
Mhm.
I'm going to save you with I'm not going to do my terrible accent. But Sean Connery shows us all here his finesse and the gentle art of acting. Snipes is at his peak as an action star. Plus, Ken Watanabe, who is an excellent actor, right up there amongst the greats. It's a brilliant movie set in the mid to late 90s, which, you know, there's some stuff there. I mean, the acting is not subtle by any stretch of the imagination. But yeah, so Aussie Guy has given us some reviews for the television show Doomsday Preppers seasons 1 through 3. They also gave us a review about a DVD called 50 Outdoor Skills to Survive and Survival with this DVD. His review says it's basic knowledge. Keep the coffee hot to keep you awake as Dick Person and his female sidekick go through basic camping items and some things you need to do if in need. It's very boring, not very helpful, and I don't like the woman, is exactly what he says.
So Chris, were you reading that guy's review of Rising Sun where he said Ken Watanabe?
Yeah, that's what he said.
Ken Watanabe is not in this movie.
He is not in this movie at all.
It is also
boy.
not late 90s. It is early 90s.
Yep, Aussie Guy has got a few things wrong here. He also gave a 5-star review to Powerful Rubber Band for Eagle of Sniper Slingshots. Okay, so like the things that you pull back and you let go. He goes, it's interesting how they have little ball bearings in the ends of them as stoppers. It's good to have spare rubbers, and them being so light.
Take that out of context. Good advice.
Yep. They could easily be deposited into your bug out bag and could possibly be used as a tourniquet, you know, in an emergency situation. So just in case you need that. The other one that we have here is from a reviewer called N2 Photos. The first review says here as Taiko drums. I'm a huge Sean Connery fan, and this one is a winner from way back. The taiko drum scene in the beginning is why I watched it again and again and again. But the entire movie is great. And if you listen to the whole episode here, you do realize that the taiko drumming scene is also cut in with the strangulation cunnilingus scene.
It sure is.
This person watched it again and again and again.
No. I watch it for the taiko drums. I swear.
I swear, sweetheart.
Oh, I just love them. Yeah.
I just love them so much. They also gave a 5-star review to iKong compatible label tape replacement. They call them adult fun with stickers. Okay, in rating this product, adhesion and value are clearly good criteria. So what does the sheerness have to do with the label tape? This stuff is great, cool colors and good quality. Now that I work in a home office, I like the flair that I allow myself with the colors. And the price is the best part, but also they stick to stuff.
I'm done. I'm broken.
Chris, we were having a good day.
I'm sorry. Just go back and rewatch Sean Connery saying, "Hey, it's for horses," and then telling Steve Buscemi to fuck off.
Get a super cut of him saying senpai. Senpai.
So anyway, I would say the long and short of it, like I would not recommend this movie. The movie I would recommend is that does the whole thing, this whole movie way better.
Yeah,
is L.A. Confidential.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like that movie is just fantastic.
Like a good 90s noir crime. Yeah.
Yep. I would agree with you guys there.
No, there is a thoroughly canceled actor in that film, though. So,
but don't worry, he meets a gruesome end. So
yeah, I'm just letting you know that
it's part of the acceptable repertoire.
Yeah, anytime that person dies on screen in a horrible way, it's fine.
Yeah,
that's fair.
So that was my pick this week. I don't know if it was a dud or not. it has moments for me, but
like it's not Max Payne bad. Like I still think the rebooted Trash Watch we're doing much better in general.
We're doing much better. Brandon, you're our pick.
I mean, we had I, Frankenstein and Max Payne in the first season.
Were they back to back?
No. They were a few episodes apart.
I was say because if that was back to back, I'm surprised we didn't just like burn down Chris's apartment and abandon all hope.
And unfortunately, they were both my choice. So I've got
you
a
got
lot of
explaining to do.
got a lot of redeeming.
On the other hand, you did give us Critters, so you are on your way up.
Yeah, you're
on the uptick here.
Moving up in the world, my friend.
All right,
you're the Michigan of people.
So, Jesus. So Brandon, you're our decider for next week. What are we doing?
Yeah. So this one, I feel like a lot of podcasts probably covered it, but it's very much in keeping with my sort of.
Let's do what we did last week.
The guessing game.
The guessing game. I want to see if Brian and I can I've
got the entertainer lined up to play over top of this if we have to stall for.
Yeah, well, I'll just let you guys know that this is one I feel like a lot of podcasts have probably covered by now, but it's very much in keeping with my sort of going back to my childhood. Okay. So we're going 1993, staying in the same year.
All right.
One of the reasons why I chose it. Yeah. No, it's not Jurassic Park. So 1993, it is rated PG. It is an hour and 27 minutes, and it is an action-adventure comedy.
Ooh. Is it live action?
It is live action. I'll also let you guys know that one of the reasons I chose it this time is because it also shows a very sensitive depiction of martial arts.
Is it surf ninjas?
It is, in fact, surf ninjas.
Yes! Yes!
So, gentlemen, get ready. Starring Ernie Reyes Sr. and Ernie Reyes Jr. Rob Schneider as a 30-year-old playing a high school student.
As a child, are you ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
I was allowed to see Surf Ninjas.
Mm-hmm.
I was not allowed to see Surf Ninjas 2. And do you know why? I was not allowed to see Three Ninjas fight or Kickback because the original marketing for the film, it was not called Kickback. It was called Three Ninjas Kick Butt. And my mother was so upset that I was running around the house yelling, Three Ninjas Kick Butt! All day. She's like, no, we don't say butt. Butt is a bad word, and you're using it in a bad context. And it was
in this house we say kick ass.
Yep. And
no pussyfooting around in this household.
We go straight to ass. Yeah, so that was that sad story. But no, I am very excited for this Surf Ninjas with Rob Schneider. Dear God.
I say, when is the last time you gentlemen have you both seen Surf Ninjas before?
I have
It's
not.
been a long time.
You have not, Brian. You're in for a
long
treat.
time.
There are some lines that to this day I quote with friends. It is,
Yes.
it's going to be. I think it's going to be more on the Suburban Commando end of the spectrum. I believe.
am excited. I mean,
I'm
you
very ready for
you have
this.
picked winners for this show. Like you are really the.
There's a reason why we were so happy you wanted to be our our third.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, let's face it. Everyone's trying to get me to be their third. I get it. It's. I understand.
You're a hot commodity, man. So if you have any suggestions or you want to drop us a line, you can find us on Gmail. It is trashwatchpodcast@gmail.com. If you search Trashwatch Podcast on Facebook, you can find us there. The show, obviously, we air on iTunes, Spotify, Buzzsprout, basically anywhere that is playing podcast, we are on at this point. We would love for you to give us a rate and review. It doesn't have to be 5 stars, but that would be really great if you could do that. And then, Brian, what is our Instagram handle?
The Instagram handle is @TrashWatchPodcast. Twitter is @TrashWatchCast.
Yeah. Until next week, when we all learn about surfing and ninjas. I'm Chris.
I'm Brian. I've got
I'm
my
Brandon.
line.
Me, Brian? Smooth Exodus ever, boys. Another classic.
Da, 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 ba, ba, da, ba, da, ba.